Somewhere under the sand on the ocean floor, a stingray is doing everything right. Buried, motionless, completely invisible. And it doesn't matter, because a hammerhead shark 30 feet away is about to find it anyway. Not by seeing it, not by smelling it, but by sensing the electrical signal of its heartbeat. So, how does a shark actually do that? Let's talk about the sense most people don't even know sharks have. It starts with a scattering of tiny dark pores across a shark's snout. Hundreds, sometimes thousands of them, easily visible if you look closely at a photo. These are called the Ampullae of Lorenzini, named after the Italian scientist Stefano Lorenzini, who first documented them over 300 years ago. And here's the part that's almost funny. For centuries afterward, nobody actually knew what they were for. Early researchers assumed they had something to do with detecting salt in the water. It wasn't until the 1960s, when a scientist named Adrianus Kalman ran a series of experiments, that anyone figured out these pores were actually electroreceptors, sensors built to detect electric fields. And the experiment itself is worth pausing on, because it's a genuinely clever piece of science. Kalman buried a pair of electrodes in the sand, generating a weak electric field designed to mimic the signal of a living animal's muscles. No smell, no vibration, no visual cue, just electricity. Then, nearby, he hid actual dead fish, but sealed them off so their scent couldn't escape. Given a choice between a real meal it couldn't smell and a fake electrical signal it could sense, the shark went straight for the electrodes, again and again. It ignored the food. It attacked the illusion. That single result was enough to prove these animals weren't just picking up on smell or vibration. They were responding to something purely electrical and treating it as more reliable than anything else available to them. Sharks aren't entirely alone in this, by the way. The platypus, of all animals, has its own version of electroreception built into its bill, which it uses to hunt underwater with its eyes, ears, and nostrils all sealed shut. But where a platypus is working with a few thousand receptors on a small bill, a shark's entire head can be covered in them. And species like hammerheads take it a step further. That wide, flattened skull isn't just a strange evolutionary quirk. It's functionally a bigger antenna. More surface area means more ampullae spread further apart, which lets the shark build a far more precise picture of exactly where a signal is coming from. The electroreception equivalent of upgrading from one sensor to an entire sensor array. Here's why that matters. Every living thing that has a beating heart, contracting muscles, or functioning gills gives off a tiny electrical signal, just as a byproduct of being alive. You cannot turn it off. You cannot hide it under sand. And a shark's ampullae of Lorenzini are tuned to pick up exactly that signal, at a sensitivity that's honestly a little hard to wrap your head around. Some sharks can detect electric fields as faint as 5 billionths of a volt. To put that in perspective, that's roughly the equivalent of detecting a single AA battery's charge from the opposite side of an Olympic swimming pool, if that battery were buried and diluted and the pool was made of water instead of air. It is, by a wide margin, one of the most sensitive biological sensing systems known to exist in any animal on Earth. This is exactly how a hammerhead finds a stingray buried completely under the sand. It's not guessing. It's not randomly digging around hoping to get lucky. It's sweeping that wide, flattened head back and forth like a metal detector, reading the faint electrical static coming off a heart that the stingray thinks is perfectly hidden. Vision doesn't factor into it at all at that stage. Neither does smell. It's pure electroreception, from a distance, through sand, through water, doing the job that no other sense could possibly do. And it's precise enough that hammerheads have been observed pinning down a stingray's exact location on essentially the first pass, rather than sweeping the same patch of seafloor over and over like they're searching for lost keys. And it turns out this system isn't just for finding hidden prey. Scientists believe the same organs may also let sharks detect the Earth's magnetic field, functioning almost like a built-in compass for long-distance navigation. Some species migrate thousands of miles across open ocean and return to remarkably specific locations, year after year, and electroreception is one of the leading explanations for how they manage to pull that off without ever taking a wrong turn in open water that has, frankly, no landmarks whatsoever. Now here's the detail that tends to genuinely surprise people. This sense isn't just a helpful backup to a shark's other senses. For the final moment of an attack, it might actually be the primary one in use. Many sharks roll their eyes back or close a protective membrane over them right before biting down, specifically to protect their eyes from a thrashing, struggling target. Which means, for that last critical instant, the shark isn't seeing what it's biting at all. It's relying almost entirely on the electrical field its own electroreceptors are reading, guiding a bite with genuine precision while functionally blind by choice. Put it all together, and what you get is an animal covered in pores that can detect a heartbeat from a distance, may double as a magnetic compass for ocean-spanning migration, and takes over as the primary guidance system in the split second a shark can't rely on its eyes at all. Humans have 5 senses, and spent most of history assuming that was the ceiling. Sharks have been running a 6th one this whole time, hidden in plain sight, dotted across their snouts, doing work so quiet and so precise that we didn't even know to look for it until a scientist buried some wires in the sand and watched what happened next. 400 million years of evolution, and it turns out sharks were never hunting in the dark. They just had a sense for it that we didn't have a name for yet.